have to remind myself that I'm a photographer first, you know, and an artist first, and you know, that's always kind of what has been my pillar in navigating the industry. And I think even now, like I'd be like, dang, should I be making more content? Should I be making a TikTok? Should I be posting this and that? And I feel like, yeah, like that will come like when it's meant to. But first and foremost, it's about creating great work. And I think that when that is the focus, like the foundation, that's what helps me silence everything else, because I know my eye is my eye.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode here at Off the Cuff, where conversations lead to inspiration. I'm your host, Christian Palma, and today we're joined by celebrity photographer, creative director, and first-generation Nigerian Cameroonian American from Harlem, New York. As a photographer, she has captured many stars running from Gucci Mane, Remy Ma, Cardi B, Stacey Adams, and so much more. She became Cardi B's personal photographer at 22. She's been featured in Vogue, Essence, Forbes, GQ, Elle Magazine, The Cut, and so much more. While spending over a decade as a figure skater with nonprofit organization Figure Skating in Harlem, she continues to pave the way by inspiring the next generation. More recently, in 22, she became the first Black woman to photograph inside the Met Gala, a moment in history. We're creating history right now with this conversation. So it's one you don't want to miss. So without further ado, here's Off the Cuff with Flo Ngala. Flo, what's going on?
Hello.
Wow, Flo, so great to see you. So great to have you here.
Wow, thanks.
Talk to me, how you feeling?
I feel really good. It's Friday, you know. It's Friday.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, you made it through the week, right?
Made it through the week, into the weekend. I'm excited about this conversation and the weekend and next week.
Yes, I listen, we're going to talk about all of that, and I'm really excited to dive into this conversation. You know why? Because there's so much that you're doing, and I think you're writing history right in front of everybody's eyes. And I think this moment right here is one that's going to be very historic.
Oh, geez,
because we're going to talk about so much, right? And you've done so much. And through every conversation we have here on the show, we like to take a step back to take us through memory lane. And we want to dive in back into those early moments. Growing up in Harlem, the Mecca, the middle of everything in New York City. There's so much opportunity, so many things you were exposed to. Tell me about those early influences of growing up in Harlem that really mold you into the person you are today.
Actually, my mom always says, like, when your dad was researching places to immigrate to, you know, he landed on New York City because New York City, you know, New York City is New York City. Yeah. But I think specifically being able to grow up in Harlem is really a blessing, because I always feel like it's the Black capital of New York. Like, I always say that. And honestly, of the country, like, it's the Renaissance, like, you know, like so many things happen in Harlem. And for me, growing up literally on Lenox, like, my parents owned a hair braiding supply store and hair braiding and beauty supply store. And they also owned a calling card center. Wow. So I spent time like on 25th and 8th, on 126th and Lenox. So I feel like I got, you know, not only the experience from just being a kid in Harlem, but also, you know, being a child of entrepreneurs and just seeing the different people come in, you know, growing up around like women from Senegal and Mali and different parts of, you know, Africa who also worked in my parents' shop, I think allowed me to have this really great melting pot of Blackness and creativity and just like social community. So I feel really lucky to have experienced that, and it definitely affected like my personality and who I am. So
I love that. And were you at some of these shops growing up and stuff?
Yeah, I was like working the shop.
Oh, word?
My parents had me behind the register. Yeah, I was like the little cashier. I would like literally like be outside like playing double dutch with my sister, or just like riding bikes, and then I would like run in when the customer came in to like ring them up. Yeah,
and then you go back double dutch?
Then I would go back, yeah. Then I would go back.
That's amazing, you know, and I think that speaks so much volume, especially achieving that American dream, right? Kind of migrating.
Definitely.
And I think it attested to the amazing things and what you've accomplished so far, because when we think about it, right, we think about when our parents just migrated to a new country, we want to make sure that their sacrifices don't go in vain.
Amen.
And for you, you had so much opportunity. You were smart as hell. You still are, right? You had opportunities to go anywhere. You were super talented, and all of these things that you were exposed to. But I'm curious, out of all the things that you couldn't lean into, you leaned into photography. Why photography? Where did you finally saw that this was actually something that you wanted to lean into and your actual calling?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, so I dealt with the loss of a parent in like my teenage years, and I just remember one of the really big things that my mom did after my dad passed was like she would always have us in Barnes & Noble. Like I always tell my mom, like, I can't wait till you write a biography one day, or just talk about like raising 4 kids as a widow in Harlem. Like, you know, like she really turned to education even before he passed. They both were really big advocates for education. But I think we would go to Barnes & Noble, and I was really drawn to, like, you know, I remember seeing Teen Vogue and like Nylon magazine and stuff for the first time. But then when I started like looking at like Paper magazine, which just announced they're closing down, by the way, but Paper magazine, like ID, like Days, I just remember being like, what are these semi-annual, like quarterly, you know, publications? And they were bigger and just like creative, and I would literally write down like the names of like the editors or stylists or photographers that like I saw in there. And this was when I was like literally like in high school, so I would just be there, but I wanted to like do more research on them. I didn't even have like an iPhone or like a Instagram account then. I just thought, you know, there was something that sparked my creativity and curiosity. And then also Tumblr is something I talk about a lot because I was a big Tumblr user. And so just kind of like looking at images and understanding that people creating images could make me feel something and inspire me was a big part of like where my eye kind of started. So I always thought that I was gonna go into like being a creative director actually, or art director, because I liked having ideas. I just liked making things make sense. And then photography ended up kind of picking up while I was actually interning as an art director.
Oh, wow.
So it was very serendipitous, you know, like all of the music, photography and stuff like that. So yeah, but I actually didn't like set out to be a photographer at first. I just took it as an elective in school, Horace Mann in the Bronx. And I liked it, I actually loved it, you know, but I thought I was gonna use photography to do creative direction stuff. Now I just use creative direction to do photography.
Yeah, which is amazing stuff, you know. And we talked about photography too, but I think even initially, your initial first passion was figure skating.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Talk to me a little bit about that moment, because you spent over a decade of just doing your thing, you know what I'm saying, both on it and off it, because we saw the imagery that you captured with the next generation of figure skaters as well. But talk to me about that experience. Walk us through that.
Yeah, I mean, I just was blessed enough to be honored by the organization on Monday. And one of the things I said in my speech, like the acceptance speech, was like being a figure skater or growing up a figure skater in Harlem was the most definitive experience of my life. I genuinely feel like, I mean, like I'm 27, but it feels so long ago. Like I started when I was 6. I did it till I was 18, and a lot of people like will never know, you know, who that person was, but like it was a whole thing. Like I was really in Riverbank State Park, like throwing double jumps and like spinning and like for real. So I like that it's kind of resurging now. It kind of feels like a hidden talent or something, like kind of just like a fun fact. And people don't believe me when I say it sometimes because it's like you don't see black figure skaters.
For sure.
But yeah, definitely was my first passion, and I feel like being an athlete really helped me become a better artist. Just like, you know, the things you learn from just practice makes perfect, or just like literally falling and getting back up. Like that's the biggest thing that skating really teaches you, because, I mean, you literally fall and have to just get up and try again and try again. So I feel like there's lots of parallels between my skating career and my photography career.
Absolutely. Do you still miss it?
Yeah, I do. I didn't really like pick up skates again. Like I graduated from the program and in high school in 2013. So when you graduate from high school, you kind of like commence out the program. But I didn't actually skate again until 2018 when I did the New York Times piece. So it was like kind of crazy to like be back on the ice. Yeah. But yeah, I still got it.
I know. We got to see you in action. We got to definitely see you. And you mentioned New York Times piece because I think that's a perfect segue, because that was such a historic moment. And not only for you, but for your family as well.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. That was crazy. And for the program, too. Like, they were, like, really excited.
And it's crazy, though, because I remember I was going through your feed, and that same moment.
Oh.
Yeah, it's that same moment, right? You were just so drawn into this big moment, right? And you was on part of this newsstand, and then you saw your mom in the background. It's like, yo, this is her first piece. It's her first piece, and she made the cover. Like, take us back to that moment. How memorable, that significant was that for you?
Yeah, that was crazy. So I'll just share a little bit about how that happened. So I was going to, when I first worked with Cardi, it was 2017 in Miami for the BET Hip Hop Awards. At the same time, there was Carnival, like they have Juve Carnival all over the world, really. But in Miami, it's the biggest carnival celebration in North America. Fun fact. So I was like, dang, I would have loved to shoot that or stayed and shoot that because, I love street photography and I just like taking pictures of people. But since I didn't know that it was happening, it just didn't work out. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna go back next year and just do it. So I literally just went 2018, like just to take pictures. And I kind of like cold emailed or cold call, pitched it to like some people, New York Times and just different publications. I showed them pictures from other parade work I did. Long story short, the New York Times editor responded back and said that pitch may not work for like what she does, but she liked my work, invited me in, and we connected, and then basically this kind of idea came about to capture Harlem or capture subcultures. Like that's what she did in her column. It was called like Lens, or not Lens. I can't remember the name of the column, but long story short, she was like, I would love to see about any subcultures you may think of to capture. And so I mentioned figure skating in Harlem because that's such a niche, obviously. Right. And I didn't know it was going to be on the cover until, I don't know when I found out, if it was that moment when I screamed or if it was like earlier in the day. Oh no, I found out before. But you can't really get the New York Times easily in Harlem.
You can't.
So I had to go to like 86th Street. Wow. And then once I saw it, it was just like pandemonium. We just like were screaming. And it meant a lot. It was my first time working with the paper. And just to see like, that kind of representation of black figure skaters like on the cover of the New York Times was crazy. And that was like the first edition of 2019. So I shot it winter 2018, but like on the first, January 6th, 2019, Sunday Times, the picture was there. So it was huge. And I was like 23. So I was like, wow. Yeah, it started getting crazy from there.
It's insane, and you're so young, and we tapped on it, and it was an opportunity for us to see how far you've came in a short amount of time, right? And you took a bet on yourself very early on, and I think that's one subject and one topic I want to speak about because at 22 you really took this leap of faith to really bet on yourself. Yeah. And I'm thinking about 22, I'm just graduating college, I'm still trying to figure out life. Yeah. And tell us a little bit more about what encouraged you to take that leap of faith.
I love this question because I think like I don't really talk about that overlap, that transition as much. Of course I talk about how it started, but like it was, literally, I remember, like this is for real, I was accepting an offer at an agency and the person who put me on to working with Cardi and Gucci was like, why are you like getting a job? Like you should be an artist. And I remember being like, but girl, like who's gonna hire me? So I literally had to turn off the Wi-Fi to not send the acceptance email. Like I literally will never forget. Yeah, I remember.
So it was in the middle.
It was like, I don't remember like how it became.
Good thing you had the delay.
Well, no, it was like, I don't know why, but I think I asked her like, should I take this job? And maybe she called me and like was like, no. And I remember just being like, crap, So maybe it's like still in my drafts in my email. Wow. But yeah, that was crazy. In college, like while I was in college is when I first worked with like, Atlantic Records and Gucci and stuff. So I think I kind of got a little bit of like insight into what my career could be. I just knew I didn't want to be like pigeonholed into celebrity photography. So I think, of course, an opportunity to work with Cardi B, like I'm going to take it. And that's what I was doing. Right. So it just felt like, a little, not scary, but I just didn't know what I was going to do when I wasn't being asked to like do BTS or something. I didn't know what that would look like. And I feel like the work kind of spoke for itself, and that's the blessing. Like I haven't really, I pitched myself and stuff, but I haven't really like had to go so crazy hard because I think that I really wanted to make sure as a photographer that the work was very strong. And I feel like that's kind of how like word traveled and carried. And the rest is kind of history now. Wow. So, but I'm still like in it, I think I appreciate the recognition and respect I get for the shots I've taken, but I'm very much like, I'm 27, like I don't know what I'm doing. Like, I'm just like, I'm still very much like, day by day trying to figure it out. So that was a long answer. But.
No, I love that. And I think that's what we want to capture, right? The essence of the story and how it evolved into the person you are today. Yeah. And, before we even get into the Cardi B and working with her and the Gucci's of the world, you talk a lot about pitching and pitching yourself and putting yourself out there. And I think that's super important for us as creatives who are building something, right? When you're so passionate about something, it's hard for us to really turn that into a career or don't even know how to make it a career. Talks about that transition, how you were able to take ultimately your passion and now a full-time career.
Well, I would definitely say that the kind of advertising marketing mindset I have helped with that. Like I went to City College or graduated from City College. I did advertising and PR because I liked communication. And so I kind of like blended, you know, the creativity with the kind of communication. And I think that helped. I feel like creatives, I don't know, you always hear the phrase, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. And I think that not only in the pitching of myself, like as a, you know, photographer, but just like my personality, like when I was around people, you know, I was always kind of just like talking about like what I was excited about because I was excited about it. And I think people feel that passion.
I can feel the passion, feel the energy.
Yeah. And I'm like, imagine that same energy, but like 22-year-old me just being like, like running around. So I think that's really what it was. I mean, when you're doing what you love or when you believe in what you want to do, it comes really naturally because you're not necessarily trying to like sell something that's, you know, not real. So that's really what I think kind of serendipitously helped me get a bit more in the rooms. And again, like I said, I'm still kind of doing that all the time and still speaking on things I love and sharing things. But yeah, it's really a game, you know? It's like
gotta learn how to play it.
Yeah,
like chess.
seriously.
You gotta
exactly.
know when to move, keep the queen tucked in, you know?
I love chess.
Yeah, me too. It's funny, I actually grew up playing chess. So my mom put me in like this after school program because she wanted me to really understand the principles of going to school, doing your homework, you know, before you know, it was like 6 o'clock, the program had ended, and it was just like, after I would finish my homework, that's where I learned how to say grace, how to pray, how to play chess.
In chess club?
No, in this after school program.
Oh,
and
wow.
It was called,
what was it called?
Martin Luther King Center.
Oh,
and
where?
It was in Rockland. So I grew up in Rockland. So it was in there that I've learned and was guided by mentors. And it's funny though, because like 20-something years later, I'm able to say the same grace. And I still remember it, you know, as a kid. I love chess. I love what it means in life and just how everything aligns in that sort of way. But being in these big rooms, right, and these big people of influence, you were able to work with some phenomenal people. And we touched upon it briefly, like the Gucci Mans when you first started, Cardi B's and stuff. Like, how did those experiences, or how did that even come about? Like, talk about how one is able to be the personal photographer for Cardi B, and how was that experience?
Well, I mean, mine was sort of, I don't want to say luck, but I mean, timing is everything. I think a lot of people, like I get DMs and questions about like, you know, how do you get into the industry and how do you, like I think people want to know like what the formula is, and I feel like I wish I could just give everyone just like, here, like this is how it goes, but like that's just not how it goes. And I think everyone, whether it's Director X, you know, June Ambrose, Jonathan Mannion, I feel like everyone probably has a crazy story about, you know, how they first got to work with Drake or how they first got to work with, you know, Beyonce or whatever it is. So I think people have to, one, be committed to, you know, doing it for the right reasons. I feel like I was genuinely passionate about photography, and so that kind of exuded itself in my work. And so the executive who ended up giving me a chance, like, you know, she's a black woman, she just like saw my images, like I did BTS photos of All the Way Up with Fat Joe, Remy Ma, and whatever she saw in that, you know, just allowed her to want to give me a chance. But it was, you know, for me, even like I can remember that day, like following Gucci, you know, for 2 days I kind of walked around with him and his crew, and it was his first visit to New York after he was like released in that very highly publicized, you know? So it was like a big deal, and I just remember trying to really just capture like the essence of it and the moments that felt just personal. Like, you know, his wife was there, and of course he was like, you know, with executives and doing press runs, but there was just something to me about capturing this man, you know, just trying to start over again, you know, just like the humility in that. And that's the same way I approach kind of all my photography with celebrities and stuff, just kind of humanizing, you know. With Cardi, like the same thing. I think I remember shooting Cardi, the first video I worked on with her, and I think she was like pregnant, but like people didn't know yet. So like that was really interesting too, just to kind of like show this like working, like soon to be mom.
Yeah.
Obviously is a huge star, but just, you know, she was tired. She was like, you know, having to do things over again. And she was, you know, this was 2017, 2018. So she was also just like learning the flow of things. And I appreciate, yeah, just like capturing the humanness of us all. And I think people see that in the work. So
that's beautiful.
Thank
And
you.
I could definitely see that. And I think the energy that you bring to the table is like you really humanize people, and you can see that through your work,
so
right?
much.
And you're humanizing this conversation because for me, it's never interviews or anything. It's more so I have a conversation, walk us through that conversation, and I love how you're able to do that in these moments. But I'm curious to know about in these moments when you're shooting some of these notable people, A-list celebrities and stuff. How do you continue to challenge yourself? But in the same spectrum, how do you continue to give yourself grace, knowing that you can only do so much at a given time?
I definitely am trying to always challenge myself, whether it's like just to get better shots, get better moments. You know, it's really easy to take a good picture of like someone who's famous because people are gonna just like it because they're famous. Mm-hmm. But for me, it's like, is this a strong photograph? Like, would a photographer like respect or appreciate this image? So I think with my BTS of Cardi, I just remember like, yes, people were like, oh my gosh, BTS of Cardi's videos. But what I really loved was like her fans or like people who would comment or interact with the images kind of being like into the photography, you know? Because that brings it back to the art.
Right.
And so I think challenging myself is about, I mean, whether it's like the equipment, the lenses, like I remember going from like using one lens to like now using two lenses and just like, you know, just being a more technical photographer, being a more skillful photographer is really important. I think trying to do research about like, you know, flash and like different like lenses and bodies and stuff. Like I always say that photographers are creatives, but we're really like tech people. Mm-hmm. Like we're walking around with like $10,000 worth of equipment, and we're also like mathematicians. Like people don't understand how much calculation goes into like getting a shot, you know, and something could be just like 3 stops or like 2, you know, levels. They call them stops, like 2, 3 stops, levels, whatever. Too dark, and you'll miss the shot. You know, you won't get it, and that happens, you know, to all of us. So I think the pressure is always on, and I guess the last answer I would say is like being a better photographer or challenging myself. I think also comes with like understanding how to deal with the pressure. Like so for the Met, for example, like very high pressure situation, very like very
eyes on you.
exclusive. Yeah. So it's like, how can I mentally prepare myself so that I have the most control over, you know, what I can control, in a space where I can't control anything. Yeah. So, yeah.
I can only imagine, you know.
Yeah.
And we're gonna get to the Met Gala because I think that's such a historical moment. Before we lean into that, I want to talk about like a mutual, I would say, inspiration here because this name rings bells in many rooms. Johnny Nunez. You know, or should I say Flo Nunez? You know, so tell me how that relationship came about.
Did you see that Cameron clip?
I did see that.
What
Cameron
a crazy
clip.
Like,
it's beastly.
It's crazy.
That's
insane.
Tell me, it's funny because I actually met Johnny too sometime last year.
Yeah.
And just the energy that he brings shows love. And I almost felt like he took me under his wing, like just in a way where he was able to guide me. And I remember one time we were going to a few events, and it was just always so much love and so much vibration from him. But like for you, like to see him in action and stuff, like tell me about those experiences.
Yeah, so Johnny was my neighbor when I was like, before I even started photography. And that was, again, just like very serendipitous. But he moved next door to us. And like I was there like when his kids were born, like I babysat them. Like that's literally my brother, yeah. So obviously everyone's like, Johnny's like my bro, and like, everyone knows him. But it's just funny because like I love seeing him be revered in that sense, and then also knowing him on a very personal level, like his wife and his kids. Like his daughter and I have a birthday that's like a few days apart, so we're both like crazy Geminis. And I think, again, with the humanizing kind of theme, I think that we keep talking about, he's a great example, you know, just of like a real human, and just the power that relationship building has when it comes to like getting the shot or working in the photography creative industry. That trust that respect. And, he takes big shots. Like, he takes, and he has been for, like, 2 decades. So, to me, it means a lot to really have his, like, support. And, we have random stories over the years, like, from just randomly being like, hey, can I borrow a lens? Or, like, he sent me this really cute text last year before the Met Gala, and he was like, your dad would be so proud.
Wow.
Don't forget, bring 2 of everything, 2 lenses, 2 cameras, 2,
Oh, so he broke down the list for you?
Yeah,
Wow.
he was the first person to tell me, like, always bring a backup, because anything can happen. So, yeah, I'm really happy for him, and he's such a GOAT. So, I just, yeah. And he's a crazy guy, so I just love seeing that he has, like, the respect and, like, hasn't had to compromise, or change who he is. Like, he doesn't, he does him, and he can, because he's literally Johnny Nunez. So
and that speaks so much volume into just the human you are, and you're able to just show up as your true authentic self.
Exactly.
In any spot you go.
Exactly.
We talked about the Met Gala, right? Beastie moment in time. The first black woman to photograph the Met Gala.
Inside, I'd say.
Inside, yes.
Yeah, because I just feel like, I don't know, I'm like, over the years, I'm like, I know someone on that carpet I don't know, actually. There's a lot of people on that carpet, so I feel like, I know for sure, like, the first person that, like, Vogue has invited inside, as an official Vogue photographer.
Absolutely. So. And, it's crazy. As I was doing my research, just looking a little bit more of the broader story, like, it kind of initially started off as a DM. And kind of you manifested this, like, kind of 6 years later. Talk about that manifestation, and then, kind of seeing that play out 6 years later, actually being inside now.
Yeah, I just knew I could do it. I don't know. Like, I just knew I could do it. I was just like, can you just let me do it? Because I guess it was manifestation. Like, that's the textbook word. But to me, I just was like, I don't know. I just felt like I knew that I would know how to get it done, get the job done. So it was bold. And I ended up kind of being, I'm cool with the person who I DM'd that too, even though obviously they didn't let me shoot the Met Gala. But I think that is the kind of, like, energy that all of us should bring into, like, our dreams and the things we want. Like, literally just pull up on whoever and just be like, this is what I want to do. And, like, it doesn't hurt, to be humbled.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's, first of all, that's a great line. But I think
say that back.
It doesn't hurt to be humble.
Run it back.
It doesn't hurt to be humble, but I think it is very crazy that ended up actually happening. Like, that's really crazy. So, yeah, I feel like I knew I could do it. So I just put it out there, and I just love that the timestamp is there. Like, like the screenshot.
Yeah.
I'm happy I did it just to be able to show, like, this is when I had that dream, or this is when I had that vision.
And it's all, like, preparation for that step. Right.
Absolutely, everything. Did you see that recent Giannis?
Yes.
Yeah, he said there's no failure.
Yes.
There's just steps to success, or something like that. It was so profound.
It's very profound. And I think it speaks to all of us, right? Because sometimes we're, like, the industry is always changing, it's always evolving. We're always looking at, like, moments of self-doubt. Are we ready? Comparison, social media, and all these other things. And it's just, like, all preparation for that next step. Yeah. And I feel like I've been in a space where I've just been very grateful where I am, right? And I think oftentimes, being honest with you, just preparing for this conversation, like, I sometimes feel like certain nerves going through my body, and feel like sometimes I would have to, earn my stripes before I'm able to sit down with certain people. But I'm like you got to create the moment for yourself, and as you create the moment, you'll start to see that you're actually taking a step forward.
Yeah.
And as I'm having this conversation with you, it just puts that so set in stone, because it's allowing me to grow as an individual. It's allowing me to grow as a person. It's allowing me to create and hold space for people like yourself who are doing some phenomenal things in the industry. But out of all the great schemes and all the great things that you're doing, you're a good person.
You think so?
You're a great person. Excuse me. Yeah.
Hear that, guys?
Yeah. You're a great person, and that
you.
humility is what keeps you grounded. You know what I'm saying? And then
I really don't play about that, like, for real. And I think especially being, there was a time where I was, like, the youngest in the room, and still now, like, a lot of times. But I really realized that I can't be anyone but who I am.
Yes.
And so I really appreciate, like, looking back and knowing that, like, that same thing that you're picking up now, like, that's how I kind of got to where I am, just kind of being like this.
Yeah.
So yeah, but there's a lot of weird people. There's a lot of like unauthentic people. You know, no one's perfect. Like I've definitely had to check myself and like vibe check just how I move. But as long as there's that accountability, you know, and that internal conversation, I feel like, and the willingness to grow and to learn, like you said, like being uncomfortable, going into certain episodes and everything, like, you know, having that internal, like, is this imposter syndrome? Is this like a lack of preparation? Do I feel, you know, like actually figuring out what it is. And I definitely have to do that a few times, especially when you're working with big artists and big teams. And like, I started traveling kind of young, like LA, New York and stuff like that, and just kind of like understanding how people move. So I'm really happy that I still was able to keep, you know, grounded. And shout outs to my family too, because they are a big part of just like
held you down.
Yeah, I can't switch up. I'm
yeah, they'll bring you back to reality. You know
my
what
mom be like, Cardi B who?
Yeah. That's amazing. You know, but you know, before we wrap up here in the last couple of questions, I gotta just learn from the experiences and stuff. Like, walk us through this big moment in time of you being in the Met Gala and stuff, of just like, what does it look like? Tell me about the experience. Like, walk us through what you see.
First of all, I feel so blessed that they invited me back.
Let's go.
That's really cool. Yeah, I was like nervous, and then that's really cool. So I'm gonna just keep trying to.
Congrats.
You know, thanks. So I mean, it's cool. I think the most fun for me was getting dressed, and I really appreciated like the outfit. Like, I'll never forget, like, just having, you know, getting some compliments from different celebrities was really cool. Like, and just, it was just so surreal. Like, I remember being, like, I'm used to shooting celebrities, but I just think that the Met Gala, like, itself, like, I remember, like, just being on the carpet when it was done, like, Bella Hadid leaving, and then, like, Erykah Badu was like, I like your dress, and then, like, you know, it's like, who was it, Tory Burch coming down the stairs with, like, you know, it's just a lot going on. So I feel like, it's really cool. I don't know how to describe it. I think I'm kind of speechless.
No, that's beautiful.
Yeah, it's just really cool. And it's really big, and just like, they're also happy to be there, you know, because it's like invite only, and like, you know, it's Vogue. Yeah. So for me, you know, obviously I'm there to work first. But for me, I think to be acknowledged by a platform and you know, company as like big as Vogue and like Condé Nast really means a lot, you know. So I'm just excited to do a good job and to lock in and get it done. Yeah, I really have to. Yeah, even last year I was kind of hard on myself. I feel like I was like, I didn't get like what I needed to get, like, you know. And they were all like, we love pictures, and you know, artists were always gonna be the most critical about their work. But I feel like I'm ready.
Is there someone you're looking forward to seeing this year or capturing?
I was hoping Rihanna came. I don't know if she's coming, but I really hope she comes.
Let's manifest that.
That'd be crazy.
There's been a few manifestations on the show.
Yeah,
and
that happened.
We're gonna make sure.
Well, I'm not gonna lie. I shot the Oscars with the red carpet in March, and Rihanna came. She was the last person to walk the carpet. She had her baby belly. I was working for like Getty or something. So there's like a cool picture I got of like her, you know, from far away. But obviously the Met is different. Yeah. So yeah, last year Hillary Clinton was there. That kind of blew my mind. I was like, Hillary Clinton? Like seriously, that was my most exciting picture. Wow. So yeah, and then obviously just, you know, seeing all the celebrities, the Kardashians was cool. I got a cool picture of like Cardi with Donatella and Kim. And I don't even think that went up on the Vogue gallery, but that was like probably one of like the coolest pictures. And then there was another one of like Tiana, Lori, Jack, Winnie, and Normani, and like that's very like those are all like the cool, you know, cool kids. Yeah. So stuff like that is cool. That's beautiful. And like the bathroom stuff too. Like last year I got a picture of like Kendall, Haley, Billie Eilish, Winnie Harlow. Like they were all just talking, you know. Wow. And then it was like Jenna Ortega, who ended up being like the star of that Wednesday show on Netflix. I think she's Latina. Yeah. And then who else was in that? And this girl Emma Chamberlain, who's a very popular vlogger. So anyway, just stuff like that is very interesting. Like, you know, Anderson .Paak was really cool. Yeah, I can keep going, but yeah, it was cool.
Now, and I think that's a beautiful thing when you're like when you turn your passion into your career, but ultimately are living your purpose now, of being able to serve and capture these moments, it's such an amazing feeling.
Yeah.
You know, and I want to talk a little bit more about, because you mentioned like so many, like how do you mentally prepare for these big moments? How do you get yourself and make sure that you're present and graceful in these moments, right? And I want to talk about the behind the scenes that we often don't see, the level of preparation mentally, spiritually, physically, you know, that you have to walk into these rooms to not only serve and do your job, but also perform in a way, right? I think now we're in a space, like I mentioned before, like many artists, or just even myself too, like moments of self-doubt or even sometimes comparison unintentionally, right, that we go through. Do you ever experience moments like that? And how do you silence that self-doubt?
Absolutely. I think that, I mean, we're in such a saturated, like, era for, like, digital anything. And I always try to be careful of not sounding, like, condescending or pretentious, because it is honestly great that people can, you know, do whatever they want these days. Like, you know, you can literally do whatever you want. If you have a phone, Wi-Fi, and a camera, like, you can, you know, you can be a photographer. You can literally just, you know. So for me, I feel like I have to remind myself that I'm a photographer first, you know, and an artist first. And, you know, that's always kind of what has been my pillar in navigating the industry. And I think even now, like, I'd be like, dang, should I be making more content? Should I be making a TikTok? Should I be posting this and that? And I feel like, yeah, like, that will come, like, when it's meant to. But first and foremost, it's about creating great work. And I think that when that is the focus, like the foundation, that's what helps me silence everything else. Because I know my eye is my eye, you know? Like, you and I could both be asked to take 10 pictures in this room, and we would take 10 completely different pictures. Right. And I love that, because that's the beauty of, like, perception, and, like, the, you know, the things that influence how you see the world and how I see the world are very different. And, you know, whether I put something in black and white or color or crop or zoomed out, all those things. So I think just having that confidence and remembering that, you know, I'm in the room because people are interested in my eye and how I see things, and, like, that should, you know, be enough for me to feel empowered. And just know, like, that's, you know, like, that's where the respect and the invite and the ask to work comes from. It's like, you know, we like your work. So that's what helps me just be like, all right, chill. You know, they wouldn't ask you to pull up or shoot or photograph, you know, whether it's the Met or whether it's, you know, someone just needing a headshot or someone, you know, New York Times, whatever it is, the big and the small things. And nothing small, right? Because I think at the end of the day, when you're capturing people, I don't know, I feel like being a photographer is sort of like looking into someone's, like, soul in, like, a weird way. Yeah, especially when you're editing and stuff, it can get very interesting to just, like, stare at a face, you know? So, again, with the humanization of things, I feel like, yeah, I'm just always reminded that I'm a people person. Like, I've always been chatty and, like, very social, and that kind of stuff. You know, I don't have to worry about anyone taking that from me, because that's who I am.
I love it. Yeah. I love that so much. And, you know, you kind of wind it back about that, just that human element of it. And we talked about so much, and I think you talked about family, and one of the things, like you said, that Johnny had said to you, like, you know, your father will be so proud. And I would attest to that as well. You know,
you.
He will.
So,
and
yeah.
it's one of those things where he didn't see the side of you.
He didn't see this side of me, which is so crazy.
You know.
And he was an artist. Like, he never saw me pick up a camera. Yeah, thank you for doing your research. Yeah. He was fire. Like, literally, he was fire. So, yeah, he never saw me pick up a camera, but he always wanted me to be great. Like, my dad was kind of crazy. He would, like, sit with me and, like, help me do all my homework. And he was a really smart guy. Like, part of why we even came to this country was for him to go to school. Like, he was getting a doctorate at NYU as, like, an African man in 1992, like, you know, early 90s. Yeah, he was a beast. And last year I got to go back to Nigeria for the first time. I met my grandmother. I met a lot of, like, my family members for the first time. Like, it was just really important. And I was going through, like, a midlife crisis, so I was like, I need to go. So I went to Nigeria, and it was just really amazing to hear people, like, see me through my mother and my father's eyes. You know, literally meeting some of, like, his old classmates, and, like, just hearing, like, you know, your dad was like, you know, he would, like, you know, he was hired to do the certificates at his college. Like, he could do calligraphy. Like, he could, yeah, he could literally, no, seriously. So it's definitely in the genes. And all my siblings are creative in a different way. Like my sister does video, my brother is a designer, my older brother is like a poet. So, my mom did hair. So it's kind of like creative, just all up in the Ngala.
You're living up to the name.
Yeah,
You
I'm
know what I'm
trying.
saying?
Thank you though.
Absolutely.
Thank you for saying that.
And as we wrap up here and stuff, what is Flo really thinking about next? Like, what are some of the passion projects that you're looking to dive in? Like, what is that ultimately next for you?
I really need to get back into my self-portraiture bag. That was like a big part of
Back in Harlem rooftop days?
Yeah, but they closed the roof down. So it's like now it makes this really annoying blaring sound because people were going up there and doing too much. So they had to shut it down. But yeah, self-portraiture, and I think honestly just kind of like pivoting and trying to figure out more ways to put more of my creative ideas out there. I think a lot of people know that I'm a photographer, but they don't know me as like a strategist or like a creative director or like doing video, other things. So I feel like just trying to be more multifaceted, and I do want to get into doing more like content creation stuff. And I think people also like want to see me like
we do
on the other side, and I'd be like, I got hacked on Instagram for like 6 weeks, and I literally shot Nas at Madison Square Garden, shot the Oscars, and like there was something else I did. Oh yeah, like just some like cool things. I didn't post it, and it was kind of like really cool because I was like, wow, like life is gonna go on regardless of if I can share it with Instagram or not. But it just reminded me that like these things, it matters to also properly package them and put them out. So I've been trying. I had someone work on my social media management recently, and I was like, you know what? It's really nice to like just have someone else do it. Yeah.
Just focus on other things.
Yeah, but more brand building is really what's next.
And we can't wait to see that, Flo.
Thanks.
I want to take this time, Flo, to really give you your flowers.
You need to stop.
No, seriously.
He needs to stop.
We
I'm
do
yelling.
this.
She's laughing at me.
we do this on the show because it's important for us to understand that conversations like this don't often happen. They happen in a group chat. They happen, when reunions happen and so on and so forth. But I want to give you your flowers while you're here, right? Because it's important for me to know that all the work that you're doing, the numerous lives that you're inspiring, the Met Gala, historical moments that you're creating. Like I said, this is going to be historic, right? All the black females, photographers, artists, creatives that you're inspiring right now that may be watching this today, they're super fascinating, super inspiring that they can see you do this. So that makes them dream a lot more. They know that it is possible. So I wanted to share that, give you those flowers because you deserve them.
Thank you so much. It's crazy for me because I literally remember you from like UA. Like I don't know what your class is 2016?
Yeah, 2016.
So we're only a year apart, but like this dude was like on campus on some like,
come on,
you know what I'm saying?
It's about you today.
No, I'm just saying, like also giving you your flowers because I
you.
love seeing, this is so, it's like a random like relink, but like just that connection is so interesting because it really shows, just like it's so important to get the things, out that are in our heart. So I'm really happy for you too, and
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm really like excited to like have been a guest, and thank you for my flowers.
Absolutely. And shout out to Drew too, because he deserves his flowers.
Shout out to Drew.
Making all this happen right here,
Yeah.
But we always flip it back to the guests and ask them the question of who would you give your flowers to?
My mom. I've been obsessed with her all week. At the figure skating in Harlem Gala that I was honored at on Monday, I like made her stand up and like gave her, a thing,
All
and
the
then everyone
praise.
clapped for her. Yeah, because she, I think I'm really like living out the prayers that she put up like for all those years. And I even said at the event, I was like, I don't know how she did that. Like even being, like when she was 27, she already had like 3 kids, right? Maybe even 4, but at least 2 or 3 kids. And again, like was living in a different country, like adjusting, and she just makes things look, she doesn't see challenges, she just sees solutions. And she's such a God-fearing woman. Like my mom really, really emphasized, just raising us spiritually and connecting with God. And I think that's a big part of how she stayed grounded. Because we went through like some traumatic stuff, like that's a really like kind of darker part of my life, but like when I was, going into photography, if you look on like my Facebook, I would upload like pictures randomly, but there's like this album, like when we were first like leaving our house, because we kind of like, we kind of dealt with a little bit of like the early part of gentrification, but also when my dad passed, we moved. But the pictures are like black and white self-portraits, and it's really dark, And I think looking back, it's like, wow, this kind of feels symbolic of the time, like eerie of like how things felt. And so all that to say, one, I'm grateful that I took those images and put them on Facebook, because I don't know where they would be if I didn't upload them on the internet. And then two, I'm just grateful that my mom, you know, as a Nigerian woman and as an African parent, gave me the space to be a creative. And that's a big, you know, thing that people ask also, is like, you know, they weren't upset, like, you know, parents
encouraged it.
Yeah. I mean, she married a creative, so I guess it's like,
it was already written.
Yeah, I got the cheat code, you know, so yeah. But I love my mom and my whole family, honestly. My sister gets flowers too, both my brothers.
That's beautiful.
And my aunt, who I told you is here from Cameroon.
We can't wait to just celebrate with her too.
Yeah, I'm gonna send you guys a video.
Yeah, please.
The surprise. So yeah.
Please do. You know, Flo, you're an amazing soul. You're someone that is super empowering. Look at that. You have all the praise. You know what I'm saying? And I also want to take this time to just kind of give the flowers to all the photographers out there.
Including Christina
yes,
behind
I was
the
going
camera.
to say, we got Christina behind the camera. All the amazing photographers, artists from all walks of life who are creating and putting their work out there to be seen and be heard. I just want to give you your flowers. Keep on creating, keep on manifesting. You're actually closer than you think, so keep on doing what you're doing, and do it with purpose, do it with love, because they say, you know, when you do things with love and passion, it doesn't necessarily feel like a job or anything. So much love to y'all, but, you know, much love to you. And thank you for being so grounded, so present. Thank you for giving us a snippet of this incredible story.
I got the exclusive pre-interview.
You know, so we can't wait to
ugly laugh.
Amplify it. We can't wait to amplify it. But Flo, we wish you all the best, much success. Congratulations again, being invited back to the Met Gala. We can't wait to see you.
Thanks for having me off the cuff.
Let's go. Let's do it. Because the best conversations happen when you're not prepared.
Is that your tagline?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. So so that's usually kind of what we do. But Flo, thank you for being here, and we can't wait to see more.
Thank you so much for having me.
And there you have it. That was Off the Cuff with Flo Ngala.